Hey there, guys. Right. Okay. Stop all the symbols. Anyway, how you all doing? So, right, what we've got here, I've got a little right-hand ostinato thing going on. An ostinato is a repetitive phrase that just keeps on going all the time, and you play stuff against it. So, for example, in this example just here, I'm doing it over two symbols over here, but you can do this easily on a ride symbol if you've not got lots of symbols. So you can go from the bell of the ride symbol, going to the tip of your stick, further down the symbol. So you're going bell, tip, tip, bell, tip, tip. And we've got this rhythm of 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, or strawberry, 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 straw. You know I love my crazy foods. But not that strawberry is a crazy food, but crazy food rhythms, it's a crazy idea or concept when you're trying to learn stuff on the drums, but it works. So anyway, but what I'm doing down here is you can do this between any two symbols. I'm going between a stack and a little X hat over here. So I'm going stack, hat, hat, stack, hat, hat, strawberry, 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 strawberry. And that's my ostinato. I'm just going to keep that going. So you can do it between your ride or between any symbols. You can do like to a crash and a hi-hat. That all works. But over here, and that just, the rule is that keeps going. You don't stop, and you try and do other stuff against that. Just to start with, you could just do some simple bass and snare patterns. And that's enough to throw a lot of people off. It's quite tricky. And then when you're happy, try and do some more complicated stuff. And see what you can see how far you can push yourself whilst keeping that one pattern going. And that's what ostinato playing is all about, and it's one of the key parts of drumming practice. Make one thing stay the same whilst you change stuff against that. So that's what we're doing over here, and there's a load of things you can get into with that. But the groove I've got here that I'd like you guys to try, just a bit of a kick and snare pattern, is we're going to play a bass drum and the stack together, and then followed by the two hi-hats, and then we're going to go for the stack and the snare drum together. So it's kick and a snare. And then we're going to play a, straight after that snare drum with the stack, it's going to be a bass drum on its own in between those notes. So you've got 1 and a 2E, that bass drum on its own in between that. 1 and a 2. And then we're going to go for the next hat, hat, stack. They happen on their own. And then you've got another kick on its own, followed by a kick and the hi-hat, then the other hi-hat, and then the snare and the stack. So you can see that's going on the whole way through. But you can see as soon as you layer up these other notes, all of a sudden it's enough to throw off that pattern. But what we're trying to do is we're working on two things. One is independence, which is where you're doing things separately. Things are happening at, at different times, and that's something you're trying to build. So one thing can happen while other stuff happens. But also something called interdependence, where even though they're independent, you're trying to separate them, they still kind of rely on each other. Okay, and a great example of that is if you're doing this kind of groove, which everyone's had a look at before. Boom, the whole right, left thing. You know you've tried it. A lot of people have that down, and they're like, well, my left hand is independent. It's playing different things to my right hand. And what I say to people is, okay, take the right hand away and keep that going. And what they'll find is if they play that groove without the hi-hat, this doesn't happen. Because that's actually relying on what's happening with the right hand, and that's interdependent. So they're still kind of relying on each other, and that's part of drumming as well. So with this groove here, what we're trying to do is trying to interlace everything between this pattern, but they're still kind of relying on that pattern. So that's where we're going, and then eventually you can build into independence. Those words are very similar, where they are completely separate, and one of them can happen without the other. So that's couple of concepts on the drumming for you there. So what we covered today, so independence, interdependence, ostinatos, any other big words? So yeah, there's a lot of crazy words in drumming. So sometimes my students, I say, I'm going to say a word and you're going to tell me whether that's a drumming term or not, okay? And I'm like, okay, blujda, pataflafla, flamacue, and they're like, they're all made up words. I'm like, no, they're actual drumming things. Drummers are weird. Anyway, so, but you've got it up to there, so that's up to that last snare. So kick, snare, kick, 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 snare, and then two more hi-hats just to finish off, which then starts the phrase again. Thing to do is split this whole, you can see the notation, split each part up into 4. So you've got 1 and a, that's part 1, 2E and a, that's part 2, 3E and a, that's probably one of the trickiest ones, stack, kick, hat and kick together, and then the other hat. And then part 4, hands together for the stack, and a. Split it all up and then put it back together, and then you got it. And again, if you've not been doing it, hello, if you've not been doing it on those cymbals, you can do it on the ride, bell, tip, tip, bell. Same thing. And that's helping you just get that It's the exact same motion. I've not practiced that twice. I did it once ages ago, practicing getting it on the ride, and then between two different cymbals, it's just the same concept, 1 and a 2 and a 3, and again getting that arm motion in there as well. Be very aware of your hand technique, and that's the phrase. So then once you're happy with that, if you want to make it even tougher, if you guys have found that easy already, then you're pretty hard going. But if you want to go even further, then the next thing is you can bring your left foot into that as well, and then of course try and do fills and then get back into that groove without it being disrupted, a little bit like this. And you get the picture. So it's good fun. Just try and take it to that next level and building up your independence, interdependence, ostinatos, ratamacues, pataflafalas, flamacues, and blujdas, and drummer's a word. Stick it in the comments if you agree. It's good fun, though. It's a wonderful world. Right, anyway, you guys take it easy. Please check out the channel membership stuff if you want to get further into this kind of thing. A whole load of courses which take you through drumming progressively, rather than these kind of one-shot lessons, which is kind of what you tend to get on YouTube. But yeah, the channel membership, I've got everything kind of organised into progressive patterns. So here's lesson 1, that then goes into lesson 2, and you've done that lesson 3, and it just has a bit more of a structured thing. It'll help you get better quicker. So if you're interested, check it out. You guys take it easy anyway, and yeah, have a wonderful week. I will see you soon.